Oh, wow. There's already a like. Well, thank you. Just kind of getting geared up here to go at this point. I'm going to try one more time. I tried sidecar. Oh, it's working now. Sidecar was not working earlier. There we go. It's working now. So let's kill that. And open up drafts for my script. Adjust the iPad. So the goal today is to talk about first break all the rules first. We're going to talk about first break all the rules. I'm going to look at craft and external storage locations. I really haven't done any research on this, so we're going to just look at it live together. And those two things will become YouTube videos coming up. And then we will just move my water and coffee around. And then I'm just here to answer questions. I'll do some research. I'll do some reading. You can see how I use craft if you want. If you have questions about craft, you can stick them in the comments. So that's it. My wife just brought me a coffee. She clearly just snuck under the wire with the coffee. Yeah. So welcome all who are here. If you want to leave a comment, go for it. I'll get to them as I can. We will actually, like I said, we'll actually be doing some live recording. So that I'll use in YouTube later for my main videos that you can watch in a few weeks. So this is kind of a way to see what goes on behind the curtain, how I do it, and how I do it live. And just honestly, I'm doing it live in main part just to cut down on editing, because editing is what takes the longest time on YouTube. What coffee? This coffee. My wife got me a traditional misto. So we get a white mocha coffee misto usually if we're at Starbucks, and then I actually get more often coffee from a little place called Harvest that's like around the corner from where I live, and I just get a latte there. She gets a caramel latte. So that is our most often ordered coffee stuff. Jay, welcome. And I got water over here because that was already on my desk. So all right, well, I'm going to get right at it, really. And then we can get into more questions and office hour stuff later. And what do I need to do? I probably need to take some notes, too, because last time I did this, I had to watch a whole lot of video before I got to the 2 chunks of video I needed. So I need to just make note of when I finish like the book video and then when I finish the craft one, because that will help make my editing faster later. Yeah. So we're going to talk about first break all the rules by, let me just write this in. Marcus Buckingham and Kurt Kaufman. Oh, good. A secret or 10. Well, hopefully I have some. Jay. I mean, the craft Slack is just busy. It's hard to keep track of everyone who's in there. I wasn't even in there early enough to say, oh, back when I was in there. At least not yet. So, and honestly, anyone who's in there now is going to be able to say that in a while. So first break all the rules. I guess I can show you. So these are actually my notes over here on my main screen. That's actually not the notes I read with. I actually have a third screen. So this is the actual written review that I'll follow later. This review will actually go on my site, but that's off on my iPad. Kind of a 3-monitor setup. My main 27. I have my camera in the middle, my 13-inch laptop up here, and then sidecar has my iPad kind of swung over top of it so you can see it. I guess I could probably show you a little bit better. It's my keyboard, the Moonlander, but that's kind of how I have things set up right now. So eventually I'll actually mount that webcam on a bar. It'll be up above my desk, and my lights will go up above my desk. That'll just make it a little better. All right, let's start with my review. So I'm going to leave a little bit of silence so it's easy to silence any just background buzz I get, because I do get a little bit sometimes. And then we will go into it. If you have any questions about what I was talking about at the end, let me know. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about a book. This is actually my second read of it, but it's called First Break All the Rules by Marcus Buckingham and Kurt Kaufman. The reason I grabbed this book again is because I recently became a manager of a few people at a web development, I guess in a marketing firm, and I run the web department. And I want to be a good manager. And this was one of the books that was recommended by a few people I know that manage teams. And I'd already read it, and I just knew it was a decent book. So let's dive in. But before we do that, actually, a couple ways to support the channel. Number one is to become a patron at patreon.com/CurtisMcHale. Number two is to take one of my courses. If you want to take my Zettelkasten course, which might be the most interesting to you, you can find that at curtismchale.ca/skillzet. That's Z-E-T, Z-E-T. Or you can go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, and that'll just hop you over to Skillshare, and you can look up my course there. Buckle up. Let's talk about First Break All the Rules. So the authors have a twofold purpose in this book. It's to help you first identify what do the most talented employees want in their workplace or need from their workplace, and second, how do great managers find their talent, support it, and keep those talented employees around. Now, the authors do this by addressing 12 questions. I'm going to hold up 5, but it's not 12 questions, so it's just more fingers, and I'm not showing you my toes. And they are, number one, do I know what is expected of me at work? Number two, do I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work correctly? Number three, at work, do I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day? Number four, in the last 7 days, have I received recognition or praise for doing good work? Number five, does my supervisor or someone at work seem to care about me as a person? Number six, is there someone at work who encourages my development? 7, at work, do my opinions seem to count? Number 8, does the mission or purpose of my company make me feel like my job is important? Number 9, are my coworkers committed to doing quality work? Number 10, do I have a best friend at work? Number 11, in the last 6 months, has someone at work talked to me about my progress? And number 12, this last year, have I had opportunities at work to learn and grow? So those are the big questions. And the authors really divide those up into, is it 4 sections? Yeah, it's 4 sections, as I try to make sure that I scroll my notes fast enough here. And they actually say in the book too that you need to address those questions in order. So you need to look at, like, you can't just jump straight to number 12. You actually have to start with number 1 and address them all, right? So one of the first things I did as a manager was make sure, like, do you have the computer you need? Because we run web development. Do you have those tools you need? Do you have, say, the monitor, the chair, all these other things, just the basic tools you need, the basic development tools? And we kind of made sure that everyone was comfortable with what they were doing, or if they didn't have it, I make sure I help get set up on a good development set of tools. And then, now we can move on to, do they care about me? And do I as a manager invest in making sure my employees, the people under me learn properly, learn well to do their job excellently. So the 4 keys are, we'll address those briefly. Number 1 is select for talent. And that is that you can't teach talent as a manager. All you can do is find talent and then get the good match fit. So match fit is a concept talked about in Range by David Epstein. And there'll be a link to this in the show notes for those that actually watch the YouTube video later. And I can paste that in because some people are watching live, and the live people actually get to ask me questions after. So if you want to do that, it'll be Friday afternoons, generally at 2, I think, but I had to drop my daughter off at skating today. So today, evidently I hit an extra key. Now you don't want that, but that will absolutely stay in. So for those in chat, that's my video on Range. So in Range, David Epstein talked about match fit, and he said that while we prize early success and early starting, all that type of stuff, it's just not going to work that way. It doesn't work that way for many people because they try something early and they don't really know themselves yet, so they don't have a good match for their job. And while they may progress, in the first few years and have a higher income than some other people that wander around a little bit, 5, 10, 15 years in, they actually realize this job sucks, I hate it. And they get set far enough back in their career that the people who took a while to meander to where they were actually are earning more. So I actually like this because I took a counseling degree when I was in my late 20s. And then at 29, I said, I'm not a good counselor. I'm not a good. I'm too blunt to be a counselor, maybe. And I've been told I don't suffer fools well. And so counseling, while it's great, and have been to counseling, I've been to marriage counseling, it's just not where I should be. But I did some business coaching, and that was a great spot for me because when someone who hired me wasn't doing anything we talked about, I'd say, why are you wasting my time? And that's not a good counselor as much. So finding match fit later in life is good, and you don't need to just rush to find your match fit, the thing that's good for you, and certainly don't feel like you're behind because you're not under a 30 under 30 list or 40 under 40 list. And I wouldn't even qualify for that one anymore. I'm just barely outside of that. I gotta look for the 50 under 50 list, I guess. Number two is to define the right outcomes. So this is not so much caring about how something is done, but that you get to the right outcome. That's it. So whether or not, speak in programming, in WordPress specifically, you use local to develop your websites or any MAMP or anything else, any other coding tool, that doesn't matter. I know there's some people watching Craft, whether you that use Craft, whether you use Craft or Obsidian or Rome or any other tool, it doesn't actually matter to me, as long as you're getting the right outcome for you. That you're finding the research you need, that you're finding the tools you need, and that you're connecting the ideas you need. Well, that's really all that matters. Now, this is where they say that weak managers define how to do everything instead of outcomes. This is something that I have looked at as we need to revamp some of our WordPress theme development and say, like, we need to be matching up to what's called in WordPress terms the Theme Developer's Handbook or the Theme Developer's Guidelines. And we want to hit that, and we're going to have some loose things. We're going to use, these 3, 4, 5 tools, and then, just go to town. Let's do it. Number 3 is focusing on strength. Key number 3. What are your people good at and what are they not good at? And don't spend a lot of time just really working to make sure they stick. Don't spend a lot of time working on their weaknesses. Spend a lot of your time working on their strengths. So if you have someone who's terrible at email, don't worry about it. I'm actually terrible at email. I have been asked that a few times. You don't answer your phone, you don't do email, why not? Because I'm just not going to do them, but I'm really good at our project management system, right? I get in there quick, and I try to do a good job of being very thorough there, but don't chat me on Google Chat because it doesn't happen. I'm actually really bad at answering my phone too. So, and knowing that and managing around that, so if you have an employee who's maybe not detail oriented, but is really good at another part, then make sure that they do the big picture stuff and get someone else to do the detail oriented. Don't try to fix them because you'll spend a lot of time battling it and you really won't get good return. Instead, let them dive deeper into what they're excellent at and excel at that. And then key 4 is find the right fit. Here the authors want us to avoid what's called the Peter principle, which is you just get promoted until you're an idiot. So you'll see this in programmers a lot. You'll see this where a good programmer gets promoted to be like the programmer manager or something like that. And they're a terrible manager, but they're a great programmer. And then it makes it really hard in most jobs for you to jump back to a lower position because it's just not acceptable to kind of backtrack. And then also it talks about pay in there. It talks about a banded pay system, which is really cool. So as a top programmer, maybe you'd get paid more than a beginning manager because you're a really good programmer and not a good manager. So that's really interesting, and I like that. And it also talked later on about how maybe you'd move back in pay. So as you become less valuable to the company, as you get a little older, maybe you'd actually earn less. I like that pay stuff. I really like it a lot because what that does is really incentivizes the manager to, or the programmer or whoever, if they want to get into the next position, maybe they'll earn more as a manager eventually, but they're actually going to take a salary cut to get there. And that really helps to make sure that they are invested in wanting these things instead. Now, finally, should you read First Break All the Rules by Marcus Buckingham and Kurt Kaufman? I'm not going to say it's like the end-all be-all management book, but it's good. And I think that there are a couple of really key, interesting ideas, specifically the banded pay. And I do like their 12 questions. So these are something that I've tried to work in with my talks, with my people I'm in charge of, and just to help them learn and to define, really to make sure I define outcomes, right? And not every step on the way, because we don't want to. I'm even doing that as I look at Reich and I try to do like workload management and see how much work we actually have and how much we're doing, trying to make it clear, like I'm sorting the system out, but I'm not trying to prescribe what you do every day. That's it. If you liked the video, thumbs up below. If you didn't like the video, I guess give me a thumbs down. your prerogative, whatever you want. Or you can subscribe, hit the bell. YouTube will let you know when things happen. And there's a few ways to support the channel. Number one is to become a patron at patreon.com/CurtisMcHale. Number two is to take one of my courses. You can find them if you go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare. You might be most interested in my Zettelkasten course, and that is at curtismchale.ca/skillzet, Z-E-T. And that'll take you right to my Zettelkasten course. Have an awesome day. Oh, so Jay used Reich. Did you like it? Oh, Monday. Okay, so Monday is a tool you use. What did Monday used to be called? It used to be called something else, didn't it? I don't remember what it was, though. I need to write down when I ended this now so that I know. I ended this at about... Well, how long am I into my stream? Does it tell me anywhere? Oh, 15:45. At 15:45. Cool. So now I can actually, do this. Make that easier. End it at 15:45. So when I go to editing, I know that that's where this video ends. Perfect. No, I don't remember what question I asked Jay. You don't like Monday better? Maybe that was it. Yeah, and I've looked around. The biggest thing that we are adding in, I think, is workload planning. Oh, you did not like Reich. Okay. Yeah, I'm not so sure about it. So this team started 3 years ago as like 6 or 7 people, and now it's up to like 22 or something. And I think that some of it is no one's really dove in. I don't even think of the right word. No one's really dug into Reich a lot to see what the best way to use it is. I've started to do that. I've taken some of their free consulting because we're a big enough company that we get that now. And so I've taken some of their consulting to use workload management, which basically lets me say a task should take this amount of time, and then I can look at the days we have and how full is it actually. And then reassign tasks based on who is free and who is not. So that is interesting, but I am not 100% on board with Reich for myself. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Who else we had in here? We had, what is it? What coffee? The Black History Buff podcast. Ooh, I'm a craft user. I love your videos so far. Great content. So is that actually like an operating podcast right now? I don't have any devices I can really look at. But is that actually? I should write that down if it is. I'll look it up. Clearly, I am a white dude. One thing that I have tried a lot in the last 2 years to read about is just stuff with people of color, stuff with people aren't white, and the crap you got to deal with. Stuff like for women too. What did I read a while ago? Oh, I'm forgetting it now. Of course I'm forgetting it. Invisible Women, right? That was the one that I missed. Craft external storage. There we go. Grab my note. That was it's a good one, if you can call it good, that where it talks about how women lose a whole bunch of stuff because men don't think about women, like in transit systems, stuff like that. If that's a good thing, then it was a good book. It's clearly not a good thing. I've also been trying to read specifically in Canada about First Nations relations, which is, again, pretty terrible. So, Sato Yuchi. Oh, I'm totally said that last name terribly. Sorry. Question, when do you use standalone page versus page within a page? I think it's totally a UI convention. Let me bring this up. No pip. Yeah, there you go. So let me just kill 2 of these because they're semi-work related. And I just want to make sure I don't disclose any work stuff. Not that I really think there's much private in there. It's just Canadian privacy rules. When do I use it? So I think it's mainly a UI convention. So I used a page within a page for my Zettelkasten course. And this is a page within a page. Otherwise, I don't use it at all. And another question I've been asked is, what is it? When to use a card? And cards and pages are basically the same thing. It's just a UI difference, really. That's it. So I don't use them a ton. Oh, that's what I was reading last time. The words race, equity. I'm going to leave that up because I might come back to that later. If we have time, I'll start reading about that York. That's what I was researching last Friday on the stream too. So that's when I use them. So I was to look at the book I just was looking at, or even the Organized Mind. This is what I'm working at now. Theory for Book Club. I have a Discord channel. There's Discord links in most of my recent videos if you want to find that out. So you can see in here I've used basically no pages though, because I don't want to. Like, I want to link out to this as an individual note, email versus letter writing. I want to link out to this as an individual note. I want to link to it from other things, and I want to see it as an individual note in a folder. Because if we were to look at right here, say the courses, you can see that all of these pages inside my course here exist in this folder, but they don't actually show up. So it's really just a UI convention. Pages don't show up in your folders, although I could link to them anyways. And or sub pages, pages within pages, and cards don't show up in your UI, in your folders UI. It's really just UI. How do you want to see it? Use whatever works for you. I don't actually care. This just kept all of my introduction. These are my scripts and everything that I used for my course out of the folder, so I just didn't mess it up, have a big problem with it. What do we have here? J, like a page within a page, want to build the fine structure. Yeah. I think the thing to remember too is use whatever works for you. Don't use what works for me. Use whatever works for you. And just use, like I said, whatever works for you. Don't do something because I do it. Because I may not have all the answers. I'm showing you as I learn what I do. I'm going to have to close that for now. What else do I have back here? My password manager. Clean up. Are you still using DT for article storage reference, Ruan? Yep, I am. Any new shortcuts for integration with Craft? Nah, I guess I kind of do. Next week, probably 2 weeks actually. Oh, you can't see me. Let's bring that back. 2 weeks, Ruan, I'll have a new basically dock setup, hub setup, and I'll be able to actually screencast from my iPad too. So then I'll actually be able to show off my iPad in use as it goes. I just don't have all the parts for it now. And yeah, to do it right, I ordered a Kensington Thunderbolt 4 dock for my M1 MacBook, and then I'll be able to take the Stego hub that's currently on my M1 MacBook, hook it up to my iPad again, and just use it. So yeah, I'll be able to show you that. I think the one I have online is pretty close. I may have tweaked the DevonThink portion because of DevonThink to go 3. Just need a little bit of a tweak in it, but yeah, I'll use that for all primary sources. I had it up maybe just before you came here. Right, where's DevonThink? Right there, primary article storage. Everything from review of the roots of youth violence to this is a cool dinosaur store for my daughter because she loves dinosaurs. That's it. See, dinosaurs. Chicken, dinosaur. And there's some, the odd dinosaur swearing in there too, which I thought was pretty funny. So we're gonna look at external storage. Let's start by looking this up. That's open-in, if you wonder. And I use it to craft notes, external storage. I use open-in to designate like my company sites open up in Chrome. And then I can do my personal stuff in Safari. So basically, open-in is my default web browser. And that makes sure doesn't have it. I don't love how Craft does some of their docs because they just don't. I know there's a doc on this somewhere. Why Craft career? Oh, they have a careers page now. Look at that. Documentation. Getting started. It's not even in there. Jeepers. Well, I guess we're just going to have to figure this out. So what I want to do is... Oh, you're not sharing anything. I'm not sharing anything. You're right. We're still getting used to some of this. Let's add a new space. Oh, an external location. So that's an easy way to do it. It's a good thing I started now. Let me gear up for the video and then we'll just get started. And I'll be sharing. Let's go live with this. So we're starting Craft external storage stuff at, what's the time again? 24 minutes. And let's see where we end it. Welcome. Today we're going to literally muddle our way through Craft external storage. And some people are watching live and pointed out that I was talking about stuff and not sharing anything for a bit because it was, yeah, anyway. But we're going to do better now. And I'm just going to look into it. I haven't really looked into it before, so we're going to literally just try it out, see how it works for us. And I'll open up, I have my iPad off to the side, which I unfortunately can't share in the video at this moment. But we will just see how it works between the two, adding it into two different spots. Before we get going, a couple ways to support the channel is number one, to go to patreon.com/CurtisMcHale, become a patron. Number two is to go to curtismchale.ca/Skillshare, take one of my courses. And if you're interested in my Zettelkasten course, where I actually demonstrate some stuff on craft, you can go to curtismchale.ca/skillzet, and that will take you directly to my Skillshare course on it. That's it. Let's buckle up. Let's look at external storage locations in craft. All right, so let's show this off. This is actually pretty simple. I was looking through the documentation and I really couldn't find exactly where it was. But if I just go into, I guess, I don't know what you call that, your icon up there. So yes, you can all see my email. I'm sure someone's gonna be like, we could see your email, but it's everywhere online. You can send me an email. I'm terrible at checking it, so I'm probably never gonna see it. The best way, if you wanna ask me questions about craft, is to join the live stream on Fridays. It'll start between 1 and 2 p.m. Pacific time. And actually record some videos, and then I take some questions. So add external location. Where do I want to put this? Let's drop it into iCloud. Let's create a craft folder, just so I have it. Create. Open. Well, that's pretty easy. So now, oh, we've got iCloud Troubleshooting. That's nice that it opens it up. Getting started with external locations. So the benefit to external location right now is that I have this for myself on my hosting, on my iCloud account, and craft servers don't get to see it. That's really the big benefit, and that's one of the drawbacks that a lot of people have said with craft is that they can see in theory, they can see your data because it's not end-to-end encrypted. But now with it's on iCloud, I have full control over it. Who gets to see it, how I share the folders, what I do with it, and everything. So using iCloud Drive, what does it say here for iCloud Drive? Local storage. So maximum privacy, full control of your data. And you have to manually re-add if you log out from your account. That's fine. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? iCloud Troubleshooting trigger sync by opening Finder and the Files app. So it looks like they say there's some issues and you can't exceed your storage limit. It's actually interesting to see about the storage limit. Like I have 2 terabytes. How much is my craft storage right now? Does it say? Yes, you can still see my email. I know. No, diagnostics. I don't have a lot of images in here and everything, but I have blocks used 76. I wonder if that's just for my, that probably just for this space. So in the chat, Preben asked, any experience with multiple spaces? You can see I've got a few. Yeah, I'm not going to go into either of these because that might reveal someone else's email. But yeah, for the suite setup I write, and so I've got their space there. And then I started one for work, but I didn't really use it. But you can link between them. You can switch between them. It's pretty easy to do. So how many, so this is like my main vault with like 2,000 or 3,000 files. Diagnostics, it says I am using 4 megabytes of space. I don't store videos in here. I have some images, but mostly just text in here. I've used 4 megabytes, 13,000 blocks. I don't even know how many notes I have anymore. Don't tell me, over 1,000? Far more than 1,000, I know that. But yeah, you can see I even have like, this is one space opened up here, and I can come back in here and I can open up in my own. I can open up the organized mind here. And like I'm actually switching between spaces right now, Preben. It's pretty easy to do. Make sure your battery is full when you charge. So that's not too bad, really. So now I did hear that people were having trouble with files moving. I don't even know how to, I have a screenshot there. It's just a screenshot of my thumbnail. That's totally fine. So let's bring this in. Loading. So this is the thumbnail I used before the live stream here. And let's open up Finder. Where is Finder? It's on another screen here, which is good. So now I can make sure there's no client information in it first. So in Finder, I put that in the craft folder. It's just JSON, eh? Not that I can read that. I'm just trying to see. Did it actually embed the image in the JSON here somewhere? That's the two files. So I wonder where it puts the assets. So I just took the screenshot from my desktop. If I delete it, it's still here. So it's embedded in here somehow, but I don't actually see where the assets are. Craft, iCloud. Yeah, the image is still there. So it seems pretty easy to get an external storage location. I will come back to this if I see any problems, really. The big question is, am I going to move my database to an external storage location? Because I don't actually need, so what you lose if you use an external storage location, the one that Craft doesn't control, is you don't get collaboration. You don't get that. I think that's the big feature, and I don't actually use it for my own stuff, so it doesn't matter to me whether or not I have collaboration, because I don't collaborate with anyone. Yeah, that's right, Jay. Jay asked, can you add it to the, right there. No, my picture in picture is in the way, so let's hide that. There you go. How does that work with sharing? My assumption is you can't, but you could just share the external storage location. You probably could share it. So if I put that in a shared folder with my wife, then I assume I could share it with her if she used Craft, but she doesn't want to use Craft with me because that's just not her thing. So yeah, you can't do collaboration like via the web like you can with the base version of Craft, but you can. This is good for like a lawyer. I know David Sparks has talked about this with Obsidian, that he can control his own storage, and so he can do his own, iCloud encryption or other sync services, and just not worry about his specific client documents being available to anyone else. I don't care as much. I suppose there's a little bit of private information in some of my book notes where I would be like, oh, and my wife does this, or we fought about this thing. But ultimately, there's not a lot of private information in my stuff, so nothing would really matter to me if someone took it. I don't think it would be that big a deal. I might be admitting that I used to be a bit of a jerk sometimes, especially when it came to First Nations stuff in Canada. 10 years ago, I was probably a bit of a jerk. All I could say now is, yeah, I was a jerk, and hopefully I'm not now. It's probably the worst thing that would come out of it. Since I'm not in politics, well, I guess I'm on YouTube. That's kind of politicky-ish, or at least it's public-facing. But yeah, I was a jerk at one point, and I work very hard not to be now. That's it. So if you want to add it, again, it's pretty easy. Go up to your little logo, add your external storage location, then you control the sync. You lose sharing, and that's really the main feature, or being able to publish as well, I guess, via the Craft Publish service. And while I like the Craft Publish service, I would never actually use it myself. I would never use it because I want to own my own data. I want to have my own blog. I want to be able to do what I want with it on my site. And so Craft is really just a repository for my thoughts in progress. And my blog is where it's still thoughts in progress, but where I've started to flesh things out a little better. That's it. If you like this sort of random video, then you can give me a thumbs up below. If you didn't like it, then I guess you give me a thumbs down. That's totally fair. You don't have to like it. If you want to support the channel, you can go to Patreon at patreon.com/CurtisMcHale. Become a patron. Links below. Or you can take one of my courses at curtismchale.ca/Skillshare. There are links below. And if you want me to answer your questions about Craft and actually join these recordings live, it'll be somewhere between 1 and 2 Pacific. That'll be great. And then you can join, you can ask questions, and I'll do some office hours after I record the videos. That's it. Have an awesome day. Try not to fall in. There you go. That's all the official recording. Ended at 34 minutes. So I'm up for questions, whatever else. If we don't have anything at this moment, then I will be just doing some research. Yeah, use the publish features for presentations. Yeah, if you want to do that, go for it, Jay. But I think Like I see a lot of people like, oh, I have my blog on whatever, Rome or whatever, and I wouldn't do that. I guess maybe I'm a nerdy web developer, so that's why I wouldn't do it possibly. I've had some people ask if I'd even publish my book database just so they could see. I really think it's just so integrated with everything else I have that it just wouldn't make sense on its own. It just wouldn't make sense on its own. So no, I'm not going to. I don't see a good way to extract without just making my entire thing public, and I don't necessarily want to do that because it's half finished work. It's not completed work. So completed work is when I will really dive in and do that. And really show that, you know, when I've kind of finished a thought, when I've kind of dug into it properly. Is that what you are? Are you a nerdy developer advocate, Jay? I'm kind of like that. I used to do a lot more developer advocacy or developer training stuff when I was beginning of my WordPress career. I do less now. More. Why? Because it doesn't interest me as much as it once did. What interests me now is research, the reading, this type of stuff. Well, I do write the odd article. I write for GoDaddy sometimes. And I was writing for Nexus for a while. And I was writing for Liquid Web for a while. All nerdier stuff. I can certainly see it for publishing your speaker notes, Jay. Absolutely, that would be a good use in presentations and craft. And present the deck set so my audience get the most up-to-date notes. That's a good idea. So I have used slides.com, I believe. Something like that. Some online web thing is what I've used before, I think. I think the last ones I just did in Keynote. So I presented to our local business organization about running an online store a couple times. And for that one, I just did it in Keynote. If you have any craft questions, let me know. I'll even see, or can I grab the link here? Preview mode, default scene. I can't. Comments. I should go find where I posted this before and just, I don't want to spam everybody though. Maybe I won't post in the craft community. It's still the most recent post. Oh, and there's even a party symbol. Thanks for whoever gave me that. If you have craft questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think I am going to start going back and continuing to research. What was it? Inbox? Is it in my inbox? No, I'm going to bring it out here. Oh, I thought I had it still. Devin think it was not the dinosaur store. I know you can't see this yet. To summarize. Towards equity and race equality. That's what I was looking at. This one right here. So this is a Devin Think URL I use. There you go. I'm right back to it. And it even picked up where I was, which is nice. And then let me bring up Safari and, what's its name? Epidemic Sound. You'll have to tell me if you're in the stream if this is too loud. But just some little bit of chill music, because that's what I want to work to. And if you have questions, let me know what they are. But how I use craft, about what I'm doing. Hello all 18 of you and the 3 people that are actually making questions. But I'm just going to keep going through this towards race equity and education article out of York University in Toronto. Chill hop. That's what we're working on. I'm going to apologize if this starts out too loud. But system audio. There we go. Should be good for you. I'm making it quiet for me. Let me know if that's too loud for you in the stream. And I will try to get it quieter. I just want something to kind of work to a bit. If you have any questions on anything I'm talking about or craft, just let me know as we go and I will do my best to stop and to answer them. Otherwise, we're just doing research. I actually have this paper already too. And I grabbed that one last time I was streaming. Read about the school to prison pipeline. The birth of the prison. Not really seeing it. Let's add that in there. So I added that as a tag because I think that I'll come back to the school to prison pipeline at a later time. Thanks, Jay. Have a good one. Yeah, so I think that as I come to other stuff, I'll want to see it like I just thought I'd read about it before somewhere else. Maybe in a book called Boys and Sex, but I'm not sure. Or maybe in something called The Case Against Education. I don't remember now. So I think I want to come back to it. So I tagged it, and I will link to it possibly later as I read more about the school to prison pipeline in schools. This was totally me, though. I was totally involved in criminal activity in my teenage years. I was not a nice person. It's interesting, that because those that are just joining, or if you've been here for a bit, any questions you have, ask away. About craft, about research, about books. I'm happy to answer as much as I can. I wonder if they actually did this race-based collection of data or not. Part of me wants to say they did not, because this is not, yeah. Because why do white people want to know that they're being jerks? So the 80s and the 90s, and that used to be when I went to high school, they're still seeing negative outcomes for black students. And so Nigel asks, and we'll be jumping over these things as they come in as questions. Add to broadcast. Nigel says, I'm building a nice collection of project documents that contain tasks. I've been struggling to find a way to filter all those tasks in one place easily. Is there a way to do that? I'm not sure you're going to like what I'm going to say, Nigel. Yeah, the way to do that is to not use Craft. I don't think Craft is a good task manager. It shouldn't be used for that. That's not its purpose. It's there for notes. The only time I use tasks is right here. Actually, I have a whole video that I recorded last week on this that comes out next week for everyone, if you weren't here live. But right here, you can see, or in this course is maybe better because it's got more in it. In this course, I literally had checkboxes to say, yes, I went through this research. Otherwise, I don't put anything in there. This is not a task manager. A task manager is something like this. Things not on the screen for you yet. Just hang on. That's a task manager. This is really what a task manager should look like, where it actually has tasks and you can organize it and you can segment it by like tags. And I can say today, what's today? Patreon, we did some stuff. We're good to go. What's upcoming, right? That's a task manager. Craft is not a task manager. That's it. Craft is not even a great, it's okay possibly for meeting notes, but I actually like, and I can't show you this just because it'll have work stuff in it, but Agenda is a much better one to use for meeting notes. I can literally just click on a calendar entry in Agenda and then tie a meeting note to it. So when I have for my one-on-one with my boss coming up, I can literally just like tie notes to the meeting with him. And when I go to the meeting, I just open it up. So I can take any notes I'm going to take with him while I'm in the meeting, and I can actually talk about any topics that I have as well at the same time. So no, Craft, not a task manager. Whole video coming out next week on why, and if you were here for the stream, you could catch it in the middle of the stream actually from last week if you want. But there's a bunch of extra cruft in there. Or you can get the more succinct version of it next Monday, I think. I should be able to tell you this. I can't open my calendar off screen for you and tell you exactly when. Love Lives Here comes out today. Strong Towns. Keeping track of tasks and Craft comes out on Monday, the 12th. So on Monday, Nigel, there's my full views on why you should never be using Craft as a task manager, because it's a bad one. That's it. Any other questions you got? Bring them on. Yeah, I think everyone just wants that be-all, end-all app, though. And Nigel, like, that's the thing. And while I actually was looking at, and once I get my iPad set up to stream with, which will be in a week or two, once I get all the parts for it, I was looking at Kanban systems because I've changed jobs recently and went from running my own business to working for someone else full time. And my task management needs change, so I looked around at Kanban systems and other stuff just to have a, even say, lighter touch task management for myself. And the truth is that Things 3 is still probably the best. Especially when I look at the iPad version of it, because it's really good. And a lot of the Kanban stuff is just not so good. It's only okay. Yep, see, we get a big vote for Ruan. +1 for Things. I've tried them all. No task manager is perfect. It's also the closest to what I need. I do love Kanban stuff, but I really, Things is just it for me. That's what I'm gonna go with. And the UI is great, but like, don't let a UI, like, I don't know. I use stuff for bikes, for climbing, for stuff that people look at like, that looks ugly, but it does the job and it does it right. So let's use what does the job, does it right. Right? You don't look at that old beat up hammer and say, oh my goodness, it's an ugly hammer. I need to get a new one because the new ones are prettier. You use the hammer that works. Use the tools for what they're meant. There's no end all be all tool. I assume the music isn't too loud, since no one's mentioned it. Oh, so you want to look at that. So I'll have this back to the broadcast. Kill the picture in picture. Sato, I'm not going to say your last name. Sorry, a layman question. Well, whatever. I just figured it out today too. Using iCloud and Craft, file names are not the page title anyway to know which files are which. So I assume grab. So I can move a specific file to another folder. Let's figure that out, I guess. This is why I create an extra database. Yeah, so I actually know Ruan. That's a separate question. I thought I killed that. No music here. You can't hear it, eh? You should be able to. It says it's playing. Maybe it's just playing so quietly. Now can you hear it? I can hear it for me. Says it's playing. Maybe it was so quiet you couldn't hear it. We're gonna look at this. Yeah, I don't use, I actually know when I looked at time blocking for, oh, you can go show and finder right there. Sato, show and finder. And go iCloud Troubleshooting. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Sorry for the typo. Whatever, man. Just watch me type on screen. Yeah, so that's how you figure out what file it is. Music's there. Okay. So Alex, hope it's not too loud now. I moved it up a little bit, but I'm trying to make sure it's should just be subtle for you, because you want to hear me talk. Because that's, I don't know. Because I was going to say something silly. Towards race and equity. Geez, in 1985, they identified these bad outcomes, right? Overrepresentation of black students in non-academic schools, low expectations, culturally based IQ testing. So that would be stuff like, I just read like a voter card for black people in like the, I don't even know, the 50s, and it was like just ridiculously convoluted questions, like underline the third "the" in the second sentence of this paragraph. Like, yeah. So are asking like, it'd be like asking me as a white dude questions about First Nations history and stuff. Like, I don't know because I didn't grow up in the culture. And yet, culturally based IQ testing, a lot of our cultural normal, I just did this with Normal Sucks, a book a while ago. Culturally based stuff is based on a bunch of white dudes. Which is stupid. Lack of black studies and black history. Like, if you asked me about black history, I wouldn't be able to pass either. So if you asked me black history as IQ questions, I wouldn't know. This is a problem I'm trying to fix, though. That's a long report. I keep looking at this scroll bar. I thought I might get through it today, but I'm not going to. This is interesting. The zero tolerance thing I read. What is it? The Skin We're In. The book talked about the zero tolerance policy and literally fighting the police on it, and in Toronto, and fighting, and like all these school board consultations always happen in the police precincts, which means it's less likely that black people are going to go because of how police treat them. It's like the whole system is designed to continually put people of color down, and no one wants to acknowledge it, which I find infuriating. Also, First Nations would be counted in there in Canada, for sure. There you go, right? Indigenous students, First Nations, there you go. And students with disabilities. I think it's in part just because the teachers, not that teachers don't want to deal with them. The education system doesn't provide an easy way for teachers to work with students with disabilities. So if you can't sit still and listen appropriately, then you're just suspended. You get consequences. There's actually a good book called The Case Against Education, which I did a review on as well, that talked about that, how education, especially after like grade 9, is mostly about signaling I'll follow the rules. And instead of actually, learning anything you're going to use later. My kids occasionally ask me, what do you do for multiplication? I was like, I just, use a calculator. Because as long as you understand basically how math works, like, I just use a calculator. That's what we all do, isn't it? Unless you're a mathematician or teaching math, you just use a calculator. You don't use most of the stuff again. You're much better to learn how to write a business proposal or how to do your taxes. Those are far better, how to understand how your taxes work, than some of the advanced algebra you'd ever use. So, because you'll never use it again. And my kids always ask, well, why do I have to be there then, Dad? I was like, well, that's a good question. Go ask your mom. Jeez. More students, eh? More like, hey, in 2009, we're going to do stuff on this. Like the first report was in the 70s that said this was a problem. And now we're like, 2009, let's just do another report. I really think that it says here, like, we should, like, being made aware of the history of First Nations or black people in Canada is really good for the First Nations and black people, which I totally agree it is. It should also be for the white people too. Instead of just, in a certain area you can actually get a more complete history, but the majority of the public is not going to get it. Craft questions, let me know. I'll stop and answer them. Or research questions, or honestly questions about bikes. You want to talk about bicycles for a bit? I got time to talk about that. Fountain pens? I don't have much to say about fountain pens except I like them. I can tell you which one I like though. Jeepers. I wonder if this is still true. Dumb. I really think it just needs to be baseline. We need to collect racial information on suspensions, on stuff like that, so that we can do better with it. So I grew up in the 905 region. 905-576-031. That's my childhood phone number. I haven't lived there in 20 years. 23 years, 24 years. I still remember it though. Yeah, we just need to be collecting demographic data. Well, hello, you final 3 that are still watching. You're up to like 18 or 20 at one point, but down to 3 now, which is fine with me. Then craft questions, ask them. I'll be here next week too, if you have more. Or if you just want to hang out, you can just listen to music and research, in which case I can be more quiet. Nope, there's another one, Sato. I don't know why I didn't scroll. When you create a link in a block that's a toggle list, its backlink only shows the block itself and not the blocks underneath it. Do you care about this? I don't actually link to blocks. Sato, if I want to link to, say here, and say I decided this first paragraph here is something I really wanted to link to, I'd actually, how do you do it? Move to a new document. That's how I do it. And then I would Shift Command N to open a new one. Here's my new document. In the inbox, I would give it the title I wanted, and I'd link to it over here. I don't use toggle lists, so I don't actually want to do this. Let's just take that back out and put it back where I want it. There we go. But that's what I do. I wouldn't use a toggle list. I don't care about the deep toggling. I know that Obsidian allows you to like link to a heading and import the stuff that's below the heading with their transclusion delete feature, but I still don't want to do it. Yeah, so I don't worry about toggle lists. Not something that's on my radar. Not something I do at all. I have literally never had the need for them in my workflow. Sorry for missing that if it was a little late. Not sure why it wasn't scrolled to show me the comment. Jeez. Of course, the York Region School District didn't want to collect data because they realized they had to do something about it. It's the thing, if you never collect the data, you don't have to admit there's a problem. You can just pretend it's not there. Those two that are left, if you have questions about craft, ask away. don't know if they care about the demographics here. So I said this in the first stream where I started researching this, that the summary is really where I and you are probably going to get most of the information. The demographics are interesting, but unless I'm going to dive deeper into this paper as a source, it's probably not something that I'm going to do. This part is about the data set. It's interesting, but not. What I'm looking for is to be able to know why I would go back to this article in the future. I'm not looking to pull every detail out of it. This is about the demographics again. So that's interesting, though. On page 29. Actually, pull that chart out. No, but I could. What is this chart? Program study for black. Title. So this is showing me that black students basically don't get into the, what is it? The academically inclined stuff. They get more into the applied, so it would be like shop, stuff like that. Which is cool, if that's what you want to do, but if you're like sorted into not getting shop because you're a person of color, that's not cool. Sometimes it's just that one teacher that really gets you going. Oh, we're back up to 6 people. For those that have joined us, if you have questions about craft, let me know. I'm just doing some research on my own now until someone asks questions. So if you got questions, let me know what they are. David, am I now working with Sean and we'll focus on craft or for PKM? No, I'm not actually. I actually built this site. That's my first integration with Sean, as I helped build one of his sites, his SeanBlanc.net site, and then I work on the suite setup as the web developer. I did that for a while, and I still do that off and on when he needs it, and I just write for them sometimes. So I'm not focusing on that, and I'm not employed by him full time, but I do get asked to write now and again, and I pitch things now and again as well. So my job is the director of web development at a company called Markentum, where I run a small web development team, and we focus on long-term care facilities, marketing for them, stuff, and I am the nerd that helps make it all happen. That's what I do, David. So I programmed in WordPress for 10 years, 11, I guess it's 11 years now. 11 years I've been programming in WordPress, and that's what I do. I run that, that web team. So that it does everything from like hiring contractors to making sure that we're up to date on stuff, and then even sometimes just updating content, updating a PDF, taking a job listing off. So I woke up crazy early this morning because that happens to me sometimes. I was up at 3 o'clock. I started working then. So I quit at like 11:30 because that was a long day already. And now I'm streaming a little earlier than I expected, which also lets me take my daughter to skating later, which she was very excited about because I don't often get to see her because my wife is the skating coach and I have to take all the other kids to everything else. So I don't get to see my daughter very often. If I have 2 craft docs, what's the easiest way to add one to the other as a page? So page is really just a UI convention, Mike. Let me just open up my demo. So a page is a UI convention, that's it, right? See, in this demo content type, I have cards and pages are basically the same thing. There's no real difference in them outside of a UI thing. Yeah, just that's it. So how do I add as a page? It's a good question. Can I embed? I don't know that you can, right? What else do I have in here? Just open this up. Shift Command N for those that care, and I'm in my demo link. So can I do page? Thanks, David. David thinks a good one. I like it. I'm not sure if you're here when I said it, but next week, probably 2 weeks actually, I'll have it all set up so I can stream from my iPad and show off my shortcuts that I use with DevonThink as I go, because I actually do most of this work from my iPad normally, and I'm just doing it on my Mac now because that's where I can stream from. But next week I'll have it set up, hopefully. Page. So here's the thing. So if I add a page here of something, it's not actually going to show up in my demo database. It's not going to show up anywhere, right? Even in my all documents. I'm not going to see this new something here because it's not there. So demo list. What shortcuts do I use? You mean keyboard shortcuts, Sean? So I do know, so watch this. I do know Mike. I'll come back to yours in a second, Sean. I'll just start. Learning to use some of this, so start. But Sean, let me know if you mean keyboard shortcuts or like iPad shortcuts, stuff like that. So I do know that if I was to do like at, say demo link, so that's on the iPad, and then I click over here, I've actually created, oh, it's deep work. I've actually created 2 things now. I have keyboard shortcuts. Okay, I'll in 1 second. So I've actually created 2 things now. I actually have my embedded sub page that is deep work, and I actually have my note of deep work as well. So if I go over here, I linked to deep work. Oh, there we go, deep work. This note here, but I also embedded a page at the same time. So I wonder if that's what you're seeing. But what happened was, if I go back, I clicked the arrow on the far side, right? And I clicked here, and that created this sub page thing for me. If I click here, it's going to open up the actual note. I wonder if that's what you're seeing, Mike. I have done that a ton of times, and the way to do it instead, and I love not relying on my notes. I'm actually a programmer, Sean. I use Vim as my code editor because my mouse is this. So this is a brand new Logitech MX3 because my MX1 finally died, and I just spent an hour not having a mouse on my computer, and I was okay. Yeah, I think that's what you're saying, Mike. David. I don't know who said that. Whoever asked about the Mike. Mike asked that. Motivated to purchase the 2020 iPad Pro. I've got mine. I said this earlier, so I've got like a 3. I'll show it again for those who are here. This is kind of my setup. On my main monitor, my laptop, and that sidecar over there. So that's sidecar. So my iPad is up there, and I will actually have it later on. I'll have my my iPad be able to stream directly from my iPad. So yeah, Vim's awesome. I think the best I went was like 3 days without a mouse. So I was like, whatever. The nice thing about Vim too is that I can actually use my iPad when I'm everything set up properly, and I can code for my iPad with Blink Shell, Tmux, and SSH. For the extra nerdy Vim people here, and I can just basically have everything I want. And I use Vim, Tmux, everything on there too. So what other questions were in here? So the keyboard shortcuts. You asked me this. What shortcuts do I use? Sean said, what shortcuts do you use? It seems that when I open up a page, I can't easily go back to the last if I opened up a new tab. So, where are we right here? Let's bring it back up. So, right here I have book notes on the Organized Mind. And if I click on Free Brian Williams, I think the best way is to just go back and forth. So I do. Where is it where you get, I think it's if you do a sub page though. So if I go into here, cards and pages, I just think of like the same thing. It's just a UI. If I click on my big blue card though, and you hear my daughter jumping upstairs, I can hear her. Then you have this back navigation like you'd see in the web sometimes, Sean. And then you can go back. But do you tag? I do tag. Brad, let me talk about that in a minute. So I think that's how I go back, like for sub pages. Otherwise, I would just open up a new Shift Command N, opens up a new window. And there's actually, what are the keyboard commands here? I don't know. There's a lot of them though. I know how to get them open on iCraft. That's show keyboard shortcuts. There they are right there. So here's all your keyboard shortcuts. You get these all on the iPad as well, if you like that. Do I, Dr. Brad asks, do I, let's bring it up, tag? And how? So I do tag. And how do I tag? One good video that I saw was from Brian Jenks. Where is it in here? It's under YouTubers. YouTube creators I learned from. Mr. Brian Jenks. Oh, you can't see this screen. Mute. Oh, it muted my whole browser. This is a really good video by Brian. Stop. There you go. I really like that. I muted over here though. Okay, I really like this video. Let's drop the link in chat for you. I like his status. One, now unfortunately Craft doesn't let you do tags like that. There you go. See, you knew what I was talking about. Status tags. He's awesome. Perfect. So how do I tag? I talked about this a little bit in my When Do You Read Syntopically, or if you dug into my syntopical stuff, you'd get it. So I have tags here. These are just like GDPR I was researching this week. People of color is something I added in. What else? I'm trying to find one that I have a lot of stuff in. Multitasking, maybe? So I have 2 links to this page, and I may actually turn this into something more later, but for now it's not. Actually, I know in my community. So this one started as a tag. Community. That one there. So this started as a tag, just as like how to build a community from the infrastructure wise, from like people wise, from everything. This was just a tag to start way back in my Obsidian days, way back, because I'm so old and all these applications are so old. And it's become a place where I continue to go through and I will read these books. And you can see I've linked to it a bunch of times with just different electric cars aren't the solution, right? So there's an article in there that I would go through. Children are no longer responsible for major chores. It's more community-based stuff. The War on Normal People, another one. So I'll tag community in books when I read, like, oh, this has something pertinent about community. Even if I don't necessarily take a note on it, I would tag it just so that I can come back to it later. So if this turns into a big book / research / whatever project, I will come back into all these notes and go through them again. For now, it's just a tag of collecting stuff. If I find a really good, and I'll actually go through all these tags to urbanization, city planning, city design. I can probably see racism stuff coming into here, specifically because I know a lot of highway systems in the US, probably in Canada too. Then I know a lot of the highways divided Black communities on purpose and avoided the white communities. So that's kind of how I think about tags. And even in the organized mind, you can probably sum it. So I linked, that's sort of a tag. This is Hypernotes. This is a new Air application. And because you have so much data flowing in the organized mind, it says, because you have so much data flowing at us all the time, you have trouble separating the mundane decisions from those that don't matter, from the things that are truly important. I think that relates to not trying Hypernotes because Craft has no glaring problems that stop me from working. The reason I switched to Craft from Obsidian was because I use my iPad a lot. And I couldn't use my iPad. I know you can now. Everyone in the comments, whenever I say this, they're like, "Oh, but here's all the reasons you can now," and you're wrong. I didn't not make the decision now, people. I made the decision like a while ago. And now there is no glaring obvious problem in Craft that makes me go, "Oh, I have to drop it. There's so much better in Obsidian." Like people are like, "Oh, but the graph." I don't use the graph. I never found it that useful. It looks pretty. It totally looks pretty. The only thing I ever found it useful possibly for, should be in this database here still, was identifying when I had a node of knowledge that I hadn't covered yet. This is an older database, so I have more in here. Loading workspace, open graph view. So noting, other way, that oh, this is my iOS fault. So noting like right here, right? Books on race. Noting that I don't have a lot of books on race in that knowledge graph. That's the only thing I found it useful for. As far as like anything else, it's just not that useful to me. It's pretty though. And honestly, if you love it, you can use it. I don't care. Use it whatever you want. But any of the comments they're going to say, oh, here's all the reasons why that's a bad decision because Obsidian has this feature now. It didn't have it months ago when I made the change, so it literally does not matter. Again, any other craft questions, research questions, let me know what they are. I also said bikes. I'll talk about bikes too if you want. And Lego. I got some Lego over my shoulder. Or if you can read the book titles on the back there, go for that too. Otherwise, I will keep researching. So Brad, I use Agenda for what you say. I really can't show it to you because it definitely has private work stuff in it. But it lets me just click on say like my one-on-one with the people I'm responsible for, and I can like look at that meeting specifically and have things to go over or take notes on that meeting, and then I can have them all in the same folder and easily just go back through all our notes. And I do that with like the one-on-one with the CEO as well, Mondays, or a tactical meeting we have on Mondays. I can actually go back and like really dig into them. I actually tried. I mentioned this earlier before. I don't know if you're here then, Brad. But like that was my official work one. I'm not going to show it to you, and I just don't. Yeah, not my thing. I just did not find that it was useful. And anyway, I found Agenda much more useful to be able to time my notes specifically to a meeting. Like I said, can't show you. There's definitely private work stuff in there that I cannot show you. Well, you're most welcome, Brad. Have a good one. Give your hand out. Have a good, I don't know, afternoon, evening, we'll say. Maybe it's 2 a.m. for you. If it is, go to bed. Although I don't know why I say that. I was up at like 3:30 or something. Wow. The longer, that's crazy. Jeepers. That's crazy. You always want to say, oh, we moved to Canada because our kids are going to do better, but it puts a lie to that. I'll have to look up when this report actually was done again. No, 2017. Says it right there. April 2017. Whatever it's changed in the intervening 4 years. I would hazard a guess that it has not. Because honestly, it's really easy for school boards to say, oh, we care, and then not do anything about it. That's what mostly happens, I think. Based on all the reading I've continued to do, and like 30 years ago, here's a report. And we still have done nothing about it. Very cool. See, I wonder what dry cool was. I just figured that I was not cool enough to know. Evidently, I was cool enough to know. You just typed it wrong. You're welcome, Sato. Have a good one. I think my daughter's coming in, so we might get to see her for a second. And yes, the garage is unlocked. My office is like kitty corner in the garage. The garage is that way and the house is that way. So they come in the garage and go. See, there she is. And now she's going, oops, are you having... No, I'm not in a meeting. I'm streaming. So yeah, people probably can't hear you, but yes, I'm streaming. You can come wait if you really want. No, she says. Okay. That door's probably locked. Just unlock it. You're big. That's my 10-year-old. She's looking at me like, Dad, you do weird stuff. Sean. Let's go over your question. Oh, Sean, your other question's up. Good question, Sean. Sean, there's not the idea of working with something related back to a daily view like in Roam, right? No, there's not. Trying to make Craft more of a CRM or a task engine based on days. Yeah, I honestly don't think it's bad. I think it's a bad idea. So I do not think that Craft is a good task manager. That video comes out on Monday, actually. I recorded it live last week. I've talked about it once already with Sato, I think. In the stream, Craft is not a task manager. It is a knowledge management system. It doesn't do daily notes. I never need daily notes, so it's certainly not a view on me. If they work for you, use them. Never listen to me. Like, if you think, hey, Curtis is an idiot and I don't want to do that, then don't do it. I don't care. I literally don't care. Because it should work for you. So I don't use daily notes. No, there's no daily notes. I think I've seen people like hack around to make it happen and like do a folder with your daily notes and link out to it, but I just have never seen the point. Like, I do not care when I found something so much. And I have things as a task manager. So as a CRM, I don't know, HubSpot, I'm not really a CRM guy. I tried to use those a bunch in my business, and basically I barely ever used them. I never got around to it, so I stopped paying for them because I never did it. Also bad at following up with prospects, stuff like that. So, which is funny because I ran a business good for 10, 11 years. I didn't take a job because the business is going bad. I took a job because it looked interesting. So I do not use it as that. I think it's a bad choice for it, in truth. If you're going to use a task manager, use a task manager. If you want a CRM, use a CRM. My 2 cents. Which is why you're here, so. If you got more questions, bring them on. I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, I'll keep reading stuff. Almost every stream, there's one person that's like, man, I never thought I'd watch a guy do research, but you are watching a guy do research. Well, I'm just kind of skimming through it now because I think I got the bulk of this so that I could go back to it for a deeper read if it becomes relevant. I always feel like relevant to these type of words are bad when I'm talking about racism stuff. If it becomes pertinent to a research project at hand is probably the best way to say it. This is not news either that black students, Middle Eastern, First Nations get expelled at a higher percentage than the proportion in the population. This is like totally normal. Boys and Sex talked about that for sure. How black males have to be, because of the, I'm trying to get the wording right, because of the view that there's this unbridled sexual aggression in black males that you have to be careful. David, well, that's a big question. How can I upload or transfer thousands of complex PDF files from DevonThink into Craft and then extract from highlighted tagged paragraphs and all of these PDFs in order to Craft publish? That's a good question. So I'm not sure that I'm going to answer it well for you. What I do is I use Craft is for my thoughts, and these PDFs that you speak of would likely just stay in DevonThink for me. So if you want to export highlights and tags, would you say tags? From a highlighted tagged paragraphs and all the PDFs in order to Craft publish. Can you export highlights, DevonThink PDF to wrong screen again. Not wrong screen. That's where Safari really is. So I edit or export annotations. October 23rd. So there you go. This might help, but I'd leave the PDFs where they are, and I would link back to. So I'm reading a PDF here. This is what I'm going through. There's that chat link, David. So what I do is I just have this thing at the top to where everything is, and like the Devon Think actual link, the original link, the authors I add in. I actually have some of this automated via shortcuts when I'm on my iPad. So I did this manually because this is not my iPad, and I started last week. But I think I would leave. So it looks here like you can just export the highlights. Oh, we can't even see my screen now. Looks here like you can export the highlights in DevonThink. Here is to say tools summarize highlights. You can select one or more annotations in the inspector and copy them via the contextual menu in the clipboard. I don't do a lot of highlighting of PDFs. That's just not something I need for my work. We'll call it I do work. So I don't do that. I think I'd leave the PDFs where they are. So I do. I wouldn't bring them in. I think that it's bad. I think Brian Jenks, who had that? Safari. Somebody on YouTube had a, or Zotero, I believe it was Obsidian Workflow. I think it was Brian Jenks. Yeah, there you go. This is the video I was talking about. Back when I had a treadmill. It just broke last week. Cheap treadmill. This will be another one to look at. See the workflow that synced it back and forth. It did seem convoluted, but I do know that Zotero has an iOS client now. Zotero iOS client. A good one too. Who is just, where did I see this? Yeah, not this, not that old one. Was it Greg Morris? Who was it? Someone in my RSS stream feeds. Yeah, Greg Morris. I feel like it was Greg. Oh, well, highlights aren't so important to my reading. I read them in that library. Matt had good book. I read it on Kindle, and then I found it at my local bookstore and thought it was great. Can you search in Reader? I don't actually use Reader a lot. I really don't. Can I search in here? Nope. I guess I'd have to star them. All items. Oh, I can right there. Zotero. Bob Martin said it. Greg. I don't know. I thought it was Greg. I glanced through this because I don't really use Zotero, but I think he had a bit of a workflow for doing research and stuff as well. Bob's a good guy. I've known Bob for a few years. There we go. Evidently the new Zotero app is actually good. Good. What is this? Zotpad. Oh, I don't want that. Sorry, David. You're always your Obsidian warrior. Obsidian. Yeah, well, sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I don't. 8 years ago. Zotpad. Must not be it. I do a lot of work on my iPad. Just like I said. I don't even know who Tall Brian is. Who's Tall Brian? Put it in the chat, please. It's not that. Small Tall Ministries. David, let me know who Tall Brian is. Maybe I will want to follow them as well. I have half an hour left, and then I'm gonna jet so I can be done with my day, since I've already been going for getting close on 12 hours already. I gotta go to figure skating, but it's pizza night. It'll be a pizza and beer night tonight. Craft. Yep, Maria, and Martin, I use Craft now. I did a video a couple weeks ago, and the biggest thing it comes down to is I do most of my work on my iPad. I'm only here because I don't have it set up. Is that why you call him Tall Brian? Because he's 6'6". So funny story. Lameness for me. I'm 5'9". I round slightly to get to 5'9". But when I was like 7, we were fighting. I have 2 brothers. We were fighting over who got to sit in the middle, and my mom finally said, "Fine, you get to sit in the middle." And whoever's tallest gets to sit on the outsides. And I said, "That's not fair." And Tall Brian Jenks, there you go. And I said, "Hey, that's not fair." And I was clearly the tallest at that point. And my mom was like, "What do you mean that's not fair?" Because we've been fighting in the back of the car. And I said, "Both of them are taller than me now. They're going to be taller than me later. That's not fair." And I was like thinking, whatever, 10 years into the future. And they both are. I'm 5'9". They're like over 6 foot. My one uncle is 6'7". So you go, I already do follow Tall Brian Jenks. Tall Brian Jenks. I'm going to call him that now. If I ever meet him, I say, hey, Tall Brian. And he'll wonder. I'll be like, "You weren't in the stream that one day?" It's David's fault. I say, "David, it's your fault. Remember that." Yeah. I use Craft to replace Obsidian. And just because I use my iPad a lot. And at the time, there's no iPad app. And I know there is now. And I might make a different decision now, but I'm not. The cost of switching is so high. Nobody anticipates how big the cost is, and I'm not switching back. Unless there's a clear, distinct reason why Craft is hampering my workflow and Obsidian will not hamper my workflow, I will not be switching back. And honestly, I'm not even going to be trying most of the other tools. The Hypernotes kept emailing me like every day for a long time. And it's like, "Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting me know." And then finally I was like, "Can you stop emailing me? I'm aware of your product. I don't need an email every 2 days from you about your new feature. I am not going to try it." So. Tall Brian. That's funny. And then I assumed his name was actually Tall Brian. That's like, oh, what's her name? In Pitch Perfect, which is a funny movie. Pitch Perfect, Fat Amy. Because if you just call yourself that, then no one calls. Then you own it. What's her name? I don't remember the actress's name, but she's good. She's funny. I like her. Pitch Perfect is also a good movie. I don't want to watch all the time, but pretty good. Probably my favorite show right now is Invincible on Prime. Not kid-friendly cartoon, but I've read the first couple hundred issues of the comics. They're good, and I will continue to watch the show. Not despite. The profanity is funny. It's just good. I find it frustrating to say this. This is a call to action. We've had these calls to action from like forever. Even back to residential schools in Canada, there's been all these calls to action that basically amount to the same thing. And we just basically do nothing about it. Maria, what do you think about the desktop app for DevonThink? DevonThink is okay. That's all I have to say right now. And I have, right here, I'm actually reading, so that's in DevonThink that I'm reading this. And this is, yes, I found a good dinosaur site because my daughter loves dinosaurs. So I have like 2,300 unread notes in my research database. There are more than that in there, for sure. And the cost of changing is so high that I'm just not going to do it. Because I also have like 2,000 notes in here or something like that. And many of my notes have this DevonThink call link back to a DevonThink document. And that means I can go like that and open the document anytime and not have to know where it is, just go open it. I can file them and just be good. It's just so hard to switch. So, and it's got, one of the things I loved is like, oh, I'll totally use this all the time. And I never use it, is, how do you even open it now? No, not that. Yeah, that's how I like it. How do you open up that other view? There we go, this one. Or if you go to right here, related, it's gonna show me like things that are related, and there's like, I just never use it. That's it. I was like, oh, I totally use this, it's so good. I even, when I wrote for the suite setup, I said, hey, this is a great feature if you're a power user, and I honestly never use it. So what's the point in having it? That's also why one of the reasons, like, it was like, oh, you lose the graph. Craft doesn't have the graph, and Obsidian does. I never use the thing. It was not useful to me. So the only time it was useful was when I identified one node that had not a ton of things going off it, but didn't really branch anywhere else. It just had like, it was just a list of books that I hadn't read. So Maria, is there any chance to create a useful note-taking system with DevonThink? Absolutely. It has backlinks in it. It has wiki links in it. You have to turn them on somehow. Wiki links. There you go. Yeah, just turn them on. And you can basically do everything that I do in Craft in here. So I guess the other question is, why don't I use it? I don't know. Partially, as I've said a few times, the cost of switching is so high that it's just not worth it to switch back into it. But I did a video on DevonThink being for other people's thoughts or primary sources, and I think Obsidian at the time, but Craft, Obsidian, Chrome, whatever your tool is, being for your thoughts. And I like to keep that separation. That's really about it. So if I have a research project, here's one. This is what I did for work recently. I basically used my Zettelkasten setup for it. I'm not going to show you the research project in here because I actually have some client information, but going in and like looking through, I literally read the laws in Canada on privacy. And I like, that's useful to have there, and I'll keep this for later. You can see a lot of my, all right, Liquid Web. You can go back through and see, like, here's the research I use for those projects that I wrote for Liquid Web. And every once in a while they'll be like, oh, can you give me a citation? Or I thought I had other stuff in here. I had GoDaddy in here too, but I don't right now. All right, or clients. I have some other client stuff in there. The suite setup, I can show you that stuff because it's just, I've already written these things out there, right? Here's like the books that I did. Here's screenshots. So I'll keep it that way, and I guess I could link between them. But I like keeping my own thoughts and my own stuff separate from other people's stuff. So that's why. But you could totally do it. There's no reason you couldn't. You could just open up a new database in here. Oh. All right, these are databases. My clients are database. My assets are a database. Personal, just for like, you know, Lego instructions, personal stuff. My accounting receipts are in there. And then my research. I just dump, once I've gone through the inbox here, then I just dump my, dump it into research. If I'm researching a specific project, I will create a folder for it. So you can see I had, I grabbed a whole bunch of the time sector stuff here. This was the Obsidian, so this is just an Obsidian sync because it can actually read. Because Obsidian uses wiki links, yada, yada, yada. And then here was some like how to read a book. So here's some more resources on how to read a book. I actually need to go in here because I'm actually going to work on this course. I thought I'd get to it today, but clearly not. Can I get a DevonThink link to this? Copy item link. I can. Sweet. So I had already previously collected notes on this. There you go. Learning disabilities like dyslexia. Henning, out of curiosity, while researching education, have you encountered good resources about learning disabilities like dyslexia? As in like how to learn better, I suppose, is your question. Nothing comes to mind. What I did read in the Case Against Education was that mostly it's about conforming, and people with dyslexia, people with ADHD, I'm kind of spitballing here, but because they don't conform to what school really wants and how they want you to behave, you get punished for it. I don't know what to say. You're talking about just learning for yourself with dyslexia. I just read, I'll roll back and get it so you can see the book. Hang on. Normal Sucks. It's an interesting book. See, I think it's dyslexia. Yes, it is. This is how normal sucks. Why society sucks for people that aren't quote unquote like normal white college dudes, which is how they define normal. That was an interesting one. More of a memoir. I just reviewed it a couple weeks ago, so if you haven't seen the video, check that out. Yeah, I don't know that I've found how do you learn if you have dyslexia? If that's your real question, Henning. I think I would tell you that focus on the stuff you're interested in. That's what I said in my Read Syntopically video this week. When do you read across an entire subject and really dig into it? It's when you're interested. And if you try to force it any other time, then you got to force it maybe for school. But if you try to force it any other time, it's just not going to happen. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Oh, I see my computer audio is gone. I got to figure out how to make that happen all the time. So if I go back to my multi-screen, you can see the audio, and I'm listening to it the whole time. Do you have more setup stuff coming eventually? But hope that answers your question, Henning. Sorry if it didn't. Ask it again or tweak it so that I don't sound like an idiot, which I might do anyways. We're down to 10 minutes. So I got the last few questions. Thanks. You're welcome, Henning. Hope that helps. Focus on your interests. That's what even said in Range by David Epstein. Really focus on the things that are interesting to you. Stick with those, and a lot of stuff is going to work out. And even if they're random interests, Range by David Epstein is a great book. I highly recommend you read it. I've read it once. I'll definitely read it again. I've listened to lots of interviews. It also went with, just looking at my bookshelf. Of course, I won't be able to think of it. Late Bloomers is another book that's similar genre. I guess I could show you my bookshelf. Oh, you're going to see my whole messy office. I don't care. You can see my messy office. Oh. Go here. There you go. That's my bookshelf back there. And my messy office. So I got to clean up the ski coats. So Late Bloomers, which is, right there, is a good one. By, I don't remember who. I don't remember who that one's by right now. No, this is going to be a overhead cam eventually. But Late Bloomers is good. It also talks about the same thing. Oh, not rushing it. You don't need to be the early success train. Range talks about the same thing. And I would say pursuing your interests is what is going to make learning easy for you. Make learning easy for you, yeah. That's all I'd say. Any other questions? I'm not going to get any farther in the research today, so I think I'm just going to end it. End it now-ish, unless there's any questions coming up. I want to say thanks for coming. It should be happening between 1 or 2 Pacific next week as well. Once I know my schedule on Wednesday or Thursday, I'll try to schedule it so that those of you that follow me on YouTube can see it already. And I appreciate the questions. And yeah, we're just kind of playing with it, seeing how it goes. And we start off, if you missed it at the beginning, I started off recording my videos early for next week. So you can actually see my videos for 2 weeks from now early. Ask questions, watch me muddle through them, and then you actually, I'm trying to cut the editing process down because with the job, it's just getting a little harder to do some things right now. Thanks all for coming. Thanks for your questions, those that asked them. I see David, Henning, Maria as well. few of the other ones that asked. Who else asked questions? Martin. Yep, Minecraft. We said this. David, Sean. Thanks all for coming. I appreciate it. And I'm happy to answer questions. So this is kind of where I'm going to be directing people. If the people that would email me in the future, I'd say, hey, join for the office hours on Fridays. And there I can answer your questions, because otherwise I just can't do it all the time. I can't keep up with the emails already on all the questions that people want to ask. So unfortunately. Last call for questions. You got like, I don't know, 60 seconds. Finish up my coffee while I wait for that. All right. Oh, there's one. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoy the content. I enjoy doing it. This channel's always going to be about what I find interesting, so I anticipate at some point there's going to be some stuff on racism coming up, stuff like that. And if you don't like that, then don't follow me. I don't care. All right, I think that's it. I'm going to go. Got a kid to take figure skating. Not quite yet, but, you know, in half an hour or so. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for asking questions. Thumbs up, David, to you as well. Thanks for answering all these questions, asking them, and making it not so boring, just watching a guy quietly read stuff. Next week, maybe next week. When does everything come? Let's check in my deliveries. Deliveries app's pretty cool for our iPad, iPhone, yada, yada, yada. Mac OS. So my cables come tomorrow. Cables come tomorrow. Why is it sorted all funny? Yeah, cables come tomorrow. The dock doesn't come for 10 days, so it'll be a couple weeks still. Then I have a Visa mount for the dock clamp thing. Why Craft instead of Obsidian? Simply because I do too much work on the iPad, and at the time, David, there was the iPad app was not going to be good. They said it was going to be a viewer, and now they say it's not, and now it's much better than it was supposed to be. And I may not make the move now, given where they are now. I would, keep working with the beta app and say, hey, they're getting, I think it's a good app for your iPad now. But when I made the decision after waiting months, it was still going to be a viewer, and I do a lot of research on my iPad. So like I said, not next week because it's 10 days, maybe not even the week after. But I will have my iPad, and I will be actually doing my research from the iPad in some fashion, so that you can see how I do it on the iPad with my shortcuts, iOS shortcuts, stuff like that. So that's why. And yes, I'm sure someone's going to say, hey, but now it's great. It is great now. Great. Who cares? It's not. I'm not making the move back now. So that's it. All right. I'm going to be out. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Go hang out with your families, stuff like that. You can also join in Discord. You'll notice in a lot of my other YouTube videos, there'll be links down below in the videos for how to join me on Discord if you want. And we can talk about other stuff. And there's sort of a book club, although it's waiting on me to finish the book because I'm slow right now. I'm reading The Organized Mind. It's a weighty book, so I should finish it this week. And then I'll set up some sort of discussion time for the book club. And then I'm totally going to pick the next group of books, and people get to vote on them, but they're going to be books that I want, because I've tried it the other way where I took suggestions and I just didn't like the books. So I decided to send it to my group. I'm not going to do that. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging out with me. Ciao.